everyone. Oh my goodness. I've been wanting to make this video for so many years. I've tried before actually. I've tried different times over the years to make it. And I even tried 3 times in like the last several weeks. But I think this is it. I think this is gonna be it. It just feels like the day. I'm recording on an iPhone on a garbage can because I think all of my cameras are now older than like just like the quality of the camera. I think this older iPhone is better than my cameras that are 10 years old now. But hi, hello. I'm like wheezing. It's a weird thing that's happening. A couple weeks ago, somebody asked me the question, what are you passionate about? And I almost burst into tears because I didn't know. And I hadn't thought about it in so long. And it felt like everything that I used to be passionate about just kind of died. So after that conversation, a friend of mine started a podcast, and she was around during my YouTube days 10 years ago. I actually met her when I was 17, and she lived in the same city as me, and we became friends. She asked me if I wanted to be on her podcast and to kind of tell the story about what happens when the door shuts on a dream. So I did, and I realized it was the first time that I ever talked about some of this stuff. And I think even looking back over the years on YouTube, I've said things in the description box, but I still felt like there was an elephant kind of in the room on my channel because I used to be so transparent, and then there was all this stuff that I didn't feel like I could talk about or didn't know how to talk about. So I think that is what kind of hindered me from being able to move forward with just regular posting because I wanted to address all this stuff and I didn't know how. So here I am to talk about it. I will say that podcast conversation was about an hour long, and I'll link it below if you want to listen to more detailed of some of the stuff. I'm trying to not have this be a half an hour long video. It is 10 years of my life, so I'm trying to shorten it to like 15 minutes max, but we'll see how that goes. I think a part of the problem too is when I tried to make this video over the years and even over the last couple of weeks, it's not that I needed to rehearse what I was saying, but I made a list of the things that I actually wanted to talk about just because there was so much that happened in a small time frame, and as I would try to recall and remember, I ended up jumbling the events, confusing myself, and then just having to keep restarting it. So crazy. And I'm really excited to talk about this. Okay, I'm gonna go. So this story for me really starts when I was 15. The summer I started posting on YouTube. Before I started uploading on YouTube, I had expressed interest in singing, but it was never something that was really public. When I was in 7th grade, I auditioned for our school's little talent show. I think I made it to the 2nd round. And then in 8th grade, I auditioned for our little choir thing that we had, and I didn't make it. So I really just sang in my car. I sang in the shower. I sang in my bedroom. And that was it. I didn't even get my hands on a guitar until I was 15. I played violin in elementary school. Always wanted to play guitar. We just didn't have the money to get one, so I didn't get my hands on one until I was 15. I had a friend who was amazing musical theater, and she was one of the first people in my life that told me I could sing. I do talk about some of this on the podcast as well, just with a friend in 6th grade telling me that we hear ourselves differently than we think we do, or than other people hear us. So that was me, 15. I started recording myself. My cat is trying to get in. He's scratching at the door. But when I was 15, I started recording myself, to see how I actually sounded. How I started posting on YouTube, it's so crazy to me because I had a very overprotective dad, and I just think, how did I do that with him letting me post on YouTube as a 15-year-old? I have no idea. But it happened, and the way it happened was so organic. I wasn't trying to get views. I wasn't trying for anything because back then people really weren't posting on YouTube singing covers. It was very new. This is summer of 2008. I don't even know if Bieber had been discovered on YouTube yet, so this was also new, and I started getting views. And actually, if you really are an OG, my original username was LoveXASDFJKL, which is the home keys on a keyboard, because I was a fast typer and that was my thing, I guess. And then I started getting views, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, I need to change this to my name and not just have some random YouTube name. So I changed my name, created a new channel, and started getting these views. And so then in... Did you hear that? My little kitty meowed. I had like a really emotional day, which is also kind of why I wanted to record this, because I have days where I'm laughing about it, and then I have days where I'm kind of not numb about it, but I'm just more at peace about it. And today I was just emotional, and I was thinking, I think I want to do this today. My cat does not want me to do this. Oh my. So in October of 2008, I entered this contest. It was from MileyWorld.com. It was called Are You a Superstar? The prize was to win a record deal with Miley Cyrus. And someone had actually messaged me on YouTube and said, hey, there's this contest. You should enter it. One sentence. I was like, okay, cool. And I did. And then I forgot about it because they didn't announce the top 50 until the spring of 2009. So during this season, I'm in high school. I was a sophomore in high school. I was very depressed. I was actually in the process of transitioning to cyber school. And then I find out about this contest, which was totally crazy because we really had forgotten about it. It'd been 6 months. It was like, you know, just entered it because, and that was it. So then started this journey of me being in cyber school and this contest. So it was the top 50, top 40, top 30, top 20, top 10, top 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I won. So that process, I think it lasted about a year, I guess a year and a half total from when I entered. And it was 2010. It was crazy. It was crazy. And a couple months after I won, I went out to LA for a weekend, and then a year passed. I went to Nashville for a weekend, and then a couple months passed after that, and they sent me a contract in the mail and said, you flew to LA, Nashville, and that's it. So I do talk more about this process on the podcast. I could talk forever about that, but I think it was hard for many reasons. During that year time in between, I was being told every week or two, hey, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. So I think where I was at is thinking, okay, I'm gonna make a CD next week. Hope, you know, that's what they're telling me. So I just stopped uploading. I stepped away because I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna get to record this process. I'm gonna get to do this, I'm gonna get to do that. And so then it just became this waiting game. I think I got my first job at that time too. So then of course, as we get older, out of high school, I graduated, and now I'm working. And at that point, YouTube was not having like monetization or anything like that. It just wasn't an option or a thing that I knew, hey, if I keep doing this, YouTube could take me somewhere, because this contest was such a big deal. So after they sent the contract, it was hard, and I think it was the season afterwards that was even crazier, because so 2 months after I got that contract in the mail, my parents decided to separate after almost 30 years of marriage. So this was in October of 2011. And then I got into a horrific car accident in January of 2012. Slid down a hillside. I had a sprained neck, sprained back. It was totally crazy. Honestly, a miracle that I even was able to walk out of it. The adrenaline was so crazy that night, I was totally fine. But then I woke up the next day and could not move my neck. So got into that horrific car accident, and then my mom, brother, and I moved out into a small apartment in May of 2012, so a couple of months after that. So during this time, I couldn't really sing or play guitar because of the accident. And then when we moved into the apartment, it was a small apartment, so anytime I would sing, the neighbors would bang on the walls and essentially tell me to shut up. So it just became something that was increasingly harder for me to do. And of course, I was working at a senior care center, I think when I was 17, and then I worked at Macy's for a couple of years. And also during that first year of cyber school, I kid you not, I mean, it doesn't sound as crazy now because of quarantine and I think just all of 2020, but I left the house 3 times as a 15 or 16-year-old. And I was just, oh my goodness, I was living for YouTube. I was living for Vlog TV on Friday nights, and it was everything. I had so many friends from online and all these different places, and I loved it so much, but I also was neglecting in-person interactions, which I think even a lot of people could relate to now with just the year we've had, how important those face-to-face interactions are. So that summer after we moved out, I became involved at a local church. I started singing on the worship team, and I became so invested with this group of friends. It was their summer after graduating. I was a year ahead of them, so all of my friends had already went off to school. And I just became, oh my goodness, I was there every night at their house until like 5 in the morning. We were all just hanging out, and it was just the best summer. And I think I needed that because I had neglected that part. So then, of course, there were different aspects of things like this kind of trauma of the Miley contest. There were people in my life that knew me before the contest, that knew me during the contest, and that knew me after the contest. And then there were people that didn't know about it. So I think I started liking that a little bit because there was all this trauma that I wasn't acknowledging. I think with how painful the contest actually was, I mean, this is to the point me going to get like a 6-month checkup for my dentist appointment or for my orthodontist appointment, and they're asking me, hey, you still sing? Hey, whatever happened with that contest? Because it was all over the news and just all this stuff, and it was just this really sore spot that I didn't know how to face. So then I was just kind of running from it without realizing it. I'm letting myself, for the first time, face the pain, acknowledge the pain, laugh at it, and cry about it. Which is crazy, because for so many years, I just felt like it wasn't an accomplishment because of the way that it turned out. And I felt so insecure and thought, if I was better, they would have had to sign me. But because I wasn't good enough, it went this way. And I think the hardest part too was not having all the answers, and I wasn't able to talk about it. So that contract came, I didn't want any of Miley's people to hate me, so then I just never talked about it. But I was always so transparent on this channel, which is also why I feel like my hair is like, it's just weird weather outside, and I cried all my makeup off today, and I was like, I need to do this as organically as possible because that's the truest representation of who I am. So, and then I was gonna talk about this later, but I wanted to wear this sweatshirt because it's Con Team, Jess and Gabe, because for years I didn't watch YouTube. It was like, even YouTube in general was this sore topic for me because I missed it so much and I wanted to go back, but I didn't know how. And I think a big part of that was me needing to talk about this and needing to confront it so that I can move on from it, but I didn't know how. So I started randomly watching YouTube again. I mean, really, I didn't watch it for years, and I started watching Jess and Gabe. They like popped up on my recommended, And they kind of made me fall in love with YouTube again. And I started watching Kristen and Marcus and Chad and Tori Masters and just all these people, and thinking, I loved this. So back to my timeline. I started singing in church. This is summer of 2012. I got very involved in that church. I was going to services every Tuesday or Thursday night, Saturday night, Sunday, all day, and it was just so amazing. It was just the best thing. And then in 2013, I ended up in a very toxic relationship. And this relationship was complicated because he was a musician, and the relationship was very wrapped up in music. So after it ended, I felt like my voice wasn't mine anymore. I always just think of Ursula whenever I'm talking about this, just because of how she steals Ariel's voice. I think my first cover was Little Mermaid, or close to one of my entire bedroom was Little Mermaid when I was younger. So this is naturally where my mind's gonna go. But just that reality of, that's what I felt. I literally felt like my voice wasn't mine anymore. So that happened. And it's funny too, even looking back on my channel, because I can look through the videos and know, oh, this was going on, that was going on, this is where I was at, that's where I was at in this timeline. And then, so 2014, December, moved again. This time it was to a house with my mom and my brother, so I was able to sing again. But of course I'm working all these jobs. I'm working full-time jobs and senior care center. I worked at a bakery for like 2 months until I started gaining weight and was like, see ya. And then what's funny about the bakery is this is one of the best bakeries in Pittsburgh, but I was also trying to be gluten-free at this point. So I'm working in a bakery and I'm trying to be gluten-free. And it was like, this is not a good combination. I have a friend that still is like, aren't you gluten-free? I'm like, for 6 weeks, back in 2011. Like, no. Macy's for a couple of years. I was at Planet Fitness for a little bit. I was a barista at 2 different coffee shops, the one for about 3 years. It was a lot of fun. It was like a drive-through. A lot of my good friends I made from there. I worked at a cookie shop, and then I worked at another coffee shop, and now I've been working at my church for the past almost 2.5 years. So it's just crazy how life has happened. I'm also a married woman, which is nuts. So it's not all bad. It's good, but I don't know. When I think about YouTube, there's so many things over the years that have stopped me from coming back, and I think a lot of it was comparisons. And back then, people started uploading all these crazy high-tech, they had this equipment and the cameras and the lights, and I was so insecure, I think, from all of this stuff that happened with the contest, that I lost my voice in the process, and I lost my passion for it, and the reason I was originally doing it. Because the original reason, I don't even know why I started posting on YouTube, but it was never for views. It was never for accomplishments. It was never for any of that. And so then when it started to twist into that, and I'm comparing myself to, oh my gosh, this person has this many views, or their channel's blowing up because they're doing this and people are sharing it, and it just became this overwhelming thing, and I forgot how much I loved it in the first place. And I think just that reality too of having to work. You know, you get older and you need to work to pay the bills, and back then I didn't know how much of an option YouTube would have been if I had kept going. And of course, I wouldn't probably know my husband, so I'm so thankful for the journey that I've been on, but I'm just recognizing how important it's been for me to acknowledge this process, and to acknowledge those years, and to acknowledge the pain of what happened, so that I can just start uploading again and be free. I think every time I would come back on YouTube and I would say, I'm back, and I wasn't back, because I'm thinking, no, you're dealing with this, or you're doing this, and you still want to talk about all this, but I just didn't know how. So I don't know what it's gonna look like, but I still felt like I've needed closure, and I've wanted to give closure. There's this quote from a song. If you know Skylar Dane, she also made a video like this on why she stopped uploading. I've seen a couple of videos like this pop up, so I know I wasn't alone in it. But she had a song, and it was called Closure. And the song has a lyric that says, should I go back to the past and relive it, or just say a prayer and forget it? Whew, and I think I've lived there for so long. There were times I almost deleted my channel because I would think I didn't deserve the numbers, I didn't deserve the views, I've neglected this. And then there were times I wanted to start over and I didn't know how to, and I didn't know if me starting to upload again is me going back to the past, is that me trying to relive it? Like, do I just say, well, that was a great run and then forget it? So I've never related to something so much with that line and her song about closure. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, I think I've thought about what the channel would look like. I don't even know if I have access to my second channel anymore. I don't know. I'll have to try to find that password somewhere, but that's where I would typically post like vlogs and little things like that. I think there's always that comparison thing of, oh, well, this person's doing that, or this person's doing that, and this person's doing that. And so I just want to be me, and I think really I just want to share that creative side of me again, because this was such an outlet for me to do that because I didn't do it anywhere else. This is what gave me a platform for my voice to be heard, because I don't think I ever would have stepped foot on a stage if it wasn't for YouTube. So I'm super thankful, and I'm emotional today, which is what I already said. I think I talked about everything. Pretty much, though. I really just miss YouTube so much. I miss the community. I just miss everything about it. When I think about it from the perspective of 16-year-old me, just loving it and loving to sing and wanting to share it, and never expecting the views or the comments, and just being so thankful for all of it, because it really opened so many doors for me. But I wasn't thinking about the doors as accomplishments when I look back, because I would have regret, and I don't want to look back on it like that anymore. So I don't know. I'm not making any promises about upload schedule and whatever, because I've tried it, and I do just think this was such a big part of the process, is me just talking about this and saying I never meant to actually leave you. And that was always what I felt so awful about. I wanted to talk about all this stuff. And I know everybody has stuff that they deal with, and everyone has different levels and different variations of trauma. And when I think about these couple of months and years that happened, I'm like, oh my goodness, thinking about 16-year-old me, 17-year-old me, and just all of the things that were going on at the time. It would have been kind of amazing if I had stayed on YouTube through it, I think. But I don't know. I'm here, and I'm excited. Not to put the past behind me, but to keep it there and be able to look back and learn and laugh and cry so that I can move forward in a healthy way. I don't know. I don't even know how to. Yeah. I'm just thankful. I don't know how to end it. Every time I wear this sweatshirt, I always start singing. I think it's by Corey Asbury. All is for the glory. No, it's not all is for the glory. All is for your glory. All is for your praise. That in all things you would have the first place. And the other thing, I was thinking about cheesily singing, which is funny, because this wasn't planned, but I was thinking in my head about, oh, what am I gonna say? Because I try not to overthink it, but I did start to think like, oh, I'm just sitting here, like, organic. I'm like, this is real, this is me, I'm exactly who I'm supposed to be. Which is funny, because that's my first video, and I don't even think I could sing that anymore. Okay, I think I'm done, because I've done enough. So yeah, just thank you for watching, if you're still watching, and I hope to see you around. I'm trying to remember my train of thought too, because I don't want it to sail away. I also have pajama pants on, because you can't see that part of me, but anyways.